Yes, so this little-known group claiming
Right.
responsibility.
Yes, it's a little known group. It was declared while there was turmoil on the coastal areas, the massacres on the coastal areas that occurred months ago, threatening the minorities in Syria. But actually, this subgroup, actually, it's a subgroup of the Islamic State, as declared by the authorities here. Since yesterday, they got to arrest a few people, and I got to know that actually they were able to detect the motorbike that dropped the suicide bomber next to the church. So they followed it and they got to the hideout of those people. They gave their names and they found arms. They found a booby-trapped motorcycle. And according to the Syrian authorities and some people that I got to talk to here, they are actually linked to the Islamic State. And actually, there was two suicide bombers, not only one suicide bomber. The second one was arrested on time, and the person who was in charge of this terrorist cell is a Syrian national from the area of Hajar al-Aswad, which is in Damascus, and he is a known leader in the ranks, middle-ranking leader actually, in the ranks of the Islamic State. Regarding the two suicide bombers, I didn't get to fetch who were they exactly, but according to the authorities, both of them were formerly detained in Al-Hol camp, the camps where jihadis and their families are detained. And according to the authorities here, both of them are not Syrian.
Now, I know there was a big explosion earlier in the day. People were worried. Then authorities came out and said that this was a controlled explosion to the west of the capital of devices that had been left over from the civil war.
Yeah.
People on tenterhooks, I presume. What's the mood right now in the Syrian capital?
Well, actually, the mood is like in any country where you have like the people are used to war in a way. So when actually I heard the big blast actually, and the people thought it was an airstrike. So first they talked about an Israeli airstrike, but very quickly we got to know that it was, as you said, just the detonation of leftovers of the war. Well, actually, despite the bombing yesterday, when you go into the streets of Damascus, they are packed. People are still in the street. People are sitting in cafes. People are still in restaurants. As any country which is used actually to being in a war conditions. And when I went to the church yesterday, actually, I saw that there was a really important security deployment. Of the security forces, of the military, of the new authorities, but even of some Christians of the neighborhood helping the security in order to control the area. So actually, you couldn't get to the church in a car; you had to walk, and all the entrances of this neighborhood were closed by security officers, and it is still the case till now. All worship places, Christian worship places in those areas are being protected by the new authorities. But of course, authorities here are still worried about other attacks that could occur against the minorities. And I didn't tell you earlier, actually, the second suicide bomber that was stopped was heading to a Shia shrine in Sayyida Zainab when he got stopped. The Shia shrine that was targeted earlier after the fall of Assad by a cell of the Islamic State, which was also stopped on time. So, of course, people are afraid. And, of course, the new authorities have a huge security challenge. And to create turmoil targeting minorities is, between brackets, a good way to create turmoil and to discredit the new authorities at a moment when sanctions are lifted, swift transfers are coming back, and people are maybe willing to invest again in Syria. I got to see many ambassadors here in the capital, like the Qatari ambassador, like the Turkish ambassador, and everybody is like willing to help the new authorities to put things in order. But one more time, the security challenges are just huge.
You're in Damascus, Wassim, at a moment of huge change for the country and for the region. You've described for us the domestic challenges with radicals still present. There's the Syrians who've been watching the missiles fly in both directions between Iran and Israel. They're in the middle. And this time, with Iran's proxies no longer present, they're spectators in all of this. This sort of paradigm shift in the region. How do the authorities play it, and what do the citizens think about the last 11 days of fighting?
Well, actually, it's a good question since Syrian authorities are the only authorities in the region that did not condemn actually the strikes against Iran, because the legacy of Iran is still very present here in Syria, the bloody legacy actually, and the new authorities look at this as something that is not of their concern actually, and they are still actually worried about Iranian interventions in Syria through Shia militias, as you reminded, but also through trying to capitalize on security gaps. Just as an example, a few days ago I was in Eastern Aleppo. Eastern Aleppo is a region where the new authorities invested like 2 months ago, knowing that the regime fell 6 months ago. So you had 4 months of security gap. And here authorities think that Iranians are trying, or tried at least, to invest in maybe creating or paying some militias in the area, and they are afraid that the Iranians get into a kind of deal with the Kurdish forces that are in eastern Syria. The fact that they were hit by Israel ends this option or this threat, if we may say it this way. On the other hand, still to talk about, for example, Hezbollah, the new authorities are foiling just now. They foiled also an attempt to smuggle weapons, not from Lebanon to Syria, but from Syria to Lebanon, because Hezbollah is trying to purchase Syrian arms from Syria in order to refill his stock. So those are also the threats regarding Iran. They see Iran from this scope, you see. Regarding Israel, well, actually, you know that Israel hit very hard in Syria when the regime fell. Now things are getting maybe better, but still Israel is making incursions in Syrian territory on daily basis. But as far as I know, they got to talk. Both authorities talked through middle powers, meaning through Azerbaijan, for example, and through the UAE, and things are being settled, or at least the level of violence is getting very low, knowing that today the Syrian authorities are fighting the Shia militias that mentioned that could threaten Israel. But even though the situation is still very volatile.
Wassim Nasr reporting live from the Syrian capital, Damascus. Many thanks for that update.